Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello there.
Yes.
Welcome. If you've not been here before, this is a rather comfortable seat. Myself and Nick, we're both sitting in front of a proverbial audio-y sort of fire. And in this little castle-like room that we sit in, we watch old 1970s, 60s, 80s, occasionally 90s television, and we have a little chinwag about it.
We do. Other things go on in this podcast, of course. We're sponsored by the Jerry Anderson store, shop.jerryanderson.co.uk, and Jamie Anderson, who runs all the Anderson media stuff. I just want to contact him because I need to ask him something, but he may not be available. It's become a semi-regular feature in this podcast that we annoy Jamie.
Little Chef.
I'll ask him about Little Chef. He's probably in a meeting. Well, actually, for the first time, we're not going to get him. Oh, no, it's connecting. Ah, hello.
Oh, no. Hang on, I'm going to have to go outside. I hate you.
Thank you. Hi, Jamie. Got two important questions for you.
Yes, go away.
The first one is, which offer code do you want us to mention?
What I want to say to you right now, I think poo water is the most acceptable one.
Is it?
Yes.
Amazing.
I can't remember what the offer was with poo water, but go with poo water.
Okay, yeah. What was the offer with poo water?
I really can't remember.
Was that 10% off your entire order, wasn't it?
No, I think that was free shipping, to be honest.
Oh.
Which is quite a valuable thing currently, so I would definitely recommend people try it.
Okay.
Yes. And what was the other question?
The other question is, why do you follow Little Chef on Twitter?
Oh, because their Olympic breakfasts are one of my favourite things ever. Although I've not had one, and do Little Chef even still exist? I don't.
No, they went out. They went out of business in January this year.
Despite Heston Blumenthal trying to help them out.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He reinvented their entire menu. Anyway, this is really actually a bad time for once. You need to go away.
Goodbye then.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
I love the way that he's got quite an intricate knowledge of Little Chef and what's going on there.
Yeah. I think he was in the middle of a meeting. He said to me, it's not going to be convenient to talk tomorrow morning. And I said, well, I'm going to phone you anyway. So there we are. The code, the special code you can use is poo water. And the reason the code is poo water, POOWATER, all one word, capitals, is because we made a joke about Attack of the Alligators, the Thunderbirds episode. That the chemical that they created that accidentally made the alligators grow really large and attack the Thunderbirds and other puppets, it kind of just looked like poo water. It's a bit childish, I know. So yeah, have a go at that special offer and you'll get free shipping on the Jerry Anderson store website. Let's have a look at the store. What's there that's tickling your fancy?
Okay,
Benji.
so there's a breakfast there, some chips and so on. That's Little Chef's Twitter. So on there today, there's lots of funky things on the Jerry Anderson store. It says here products we love. Thunderbird.
Oh, hold
1.
on! I've just got to say we're meant to be discussing UFO Identified, the first episode of UFO today. I should have mentioned that earlier. Sorry, folks.
Well, you're in for a treat here because as well as the Thunderbird 1 tin amp. Here, which you can get, which is rather funky. It also recommends on products we love the UFO Complete Series DVD,
which we're offering as a competition prize as well.
Which even look at that. I mean, that's perfection right there, isn't it? In terms of the universe working in our favour. You can also get a Joe 90 t-shirt which says "Win," which is rather cool. Most special. I can't read what it says underneath there. Most special agent. Really rather funky. You get Mistron's shirt. You can get the Captain Scarlet character Captain Scarlet replica figure, which says from £30, but I don't think it is, because I see, that's a finance plan, because it is £199 if you actually wanted it. I was going to say that could have vastly led people astray there. You can get some amazing stuff as well. The cool thing about this store, I think I normally say this every week, but I'm going to say it again anyway, is that you can actually get some really quite specific products. So, for example, here you can get a Space 1999 Eagle display model, which is actually pre-built as well, and it is stunning. I mean, when you look at it, the
Eagle's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
The Eagle's a beautiful thing, and this model is as you would expect. It is pretty much. It looks as though you could just use it in the show. It's pretty much. It's.
And talking of the show, a few podcasts back, we did discuss the first episode of Space 1999. So have a look for us on iTunes. Wherever you get your podcasts from, we should be there. The Benji and Nick Show. Well, you found us. You're listening to us now. You may be listening to us on SoundCloud. You may be listening to us on the nicholasbriggs.com or Red Ray Gun website. I don't know, but you can go back and have a look at some of the older podcasts we've done, where we talk about things like Death to the Daleks from Doctor Who and Catweasel and Time Slip. Yeah, there's no end to what we go on about.
I had a look the other day to see what how many we've done in the past, and it's amazing how quickly you end up with quite a back catalogue.
Well, because we're doing one a week, mate. That's why. It's every week, every Sunday, the Benji and Nick Show.
It's funny, isn't it? It's become it's just part of our weeks now, isn't it? You just do a podcast.
So that's one of my favourite things, having a chat with you, mate.
It's great. And likewise, it's just great fun. And that's what this podcast's all about. It's just having a little chinwag, having a chat, and putting the world to rights.
Benji, that UFO competition, have you got can we reiterate that? The closing date's not until this coming Friday, I believe.
I'll have a look for you. I don't know, because I don't think we've had a script for weeks, so I don't know if it's actually written down.
Don't!
Let's have a look. I'll see if I have had anything. I'll type UFO into my emails. We might be lucky.
Oh, right, okay. Devil's Crown.
No, is the answer. No. What's this?
Right. No, I've got it. The closing date is June the 15th, and the question is, in which episode does Ed Bishop's son have an unfortunate experience? There you go. So enter that one. You got to be in it to win it. You got to be, and honestly, what a cool prize as well to get the complete UFO on DVD. It's brilliant.
That's worth it, isn't it? Really.
And email us at podcast@nicholasbriggs.com to be in with a chance to win, and don't forget to include your postal address so that we can pass that on for when you win the prize, hopefully. Good luck with that. And talking of that email address, podcast@nicholasbriggs.com, shall I have a look and see what emails we have?
Oh, I think you should. So, I just had a little peek on the Jerry Anderson store, and it came up with the DVD of Secret Service, The Secret Service, and now I'm just annoyed because my whole day I'm going to have that theme tune stuck in my head. Just basically constant.
Right, this is a message from Chris Avery, who also wrote to the Big Finish podcast this week, but
hey,
why not? Well, it's a double whammy of Chris Avery. He said, he said, "Dear Benji and Nick, can I add my vote for the Feathered Serpent?" Or, I can't pronounce this, Quetzalcoatl to his friends. Please tell me how to pronounce that. To be covered by the Benji and Nick Show. I loved this series when it was originally broadcast, and a couple of years ago I bought the DVD. I was not disappointed, even allowing for the superficial patina of nostalgia. I think it really stands the test of time, allowing for the fact that it is an entirely studio-based children's series. I remember that it was studio-based. I also remember it was very compelling, so maybe I will get those DVDs. I looked at The Devil's Crown, which we spoke about last week. Very brave choice of style. Benji liked it, I didn't, basically. I don't actually remember it, but I might persevere with it. I'm thoroughly enjoying the podcast. It's one of the only two I listen to regularly. I won't say what the other one is, but you are both in it. Chris Avery, sent from inside a sealed Aztec tomb.
Very nicely done. Yes, see, the other podcast he's referring to is me and Nick, the Batman 1960s fan podcast. That's not
The Big Finish podcast, that's what it is.
Yes, that's correct. Dido boy, indeed.
Andrew Wooding says, hello, Benji and Nick. Loving the podcast. It is less frenetic than the Big Finish one, where you have to get through quite a lot. Here it feels like eavesdropping on two friends talking. A real tonic to listen to and very relaxing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. As for the Mandela effect, here we go. The Mandela effect. Do you know about it?
That started.
That, by the way, that video that Pete Nick put up was just amazing, about just saying what a load of rubbish the Mandela effect was. Anyway, I don't believe it for one moment. My theory is that people heard of the death in jail of South African activist Steve Biko in 1977 and falsely remembered it as the death in jail of Nelson Mandela. As John Nathan Turner said, the memory cheats. However, the one example that gives me pause for thought is C-3PO's right leg being silver in the first Star Wars film. It is silver on my shiny DVD release. And Google Images repeatedly confront me with this silver leg. Yet I don't remember a silver leg at all. And I was one of the ones who saw Star Wars multiple times on its initial release. Do either of you remember the silver leg? Please tell me I'm not going mad, Andrew. Well, I don't remember the silver leg, but frankly, were we really looking at the lower half of C-3PO's right or left leg?
See, I do remember the silver leg, but equally, I remember having the C-3PO toys that didn't have the silver leg, and what I think is my theory, as we touched on, is you end up just identifying with the things that are around you. And if you've got a C-3PO toy, just like Daleks, if you've got a Dalek toy that's a Dalek in it, like those Daypole Daleks that came in ludicrous colours. After a while, your mind starts to falsely remember things. Yeah, maybe. And so, I think the silver leg was there, because how can I don't know. Yeah. I've
got an outrageous thing to say about all this.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Right. This one from Jeremy Rayner. I think I know you, Jeremy. Hi, Benji and Nick. Thank you so much for making a fascinating adventure through the hidden gems of TV. I'm delighted that you are giving time to some of the productions which made an impact on me and my friends back then, such as Chocky, Day of the Triffids, and Children of the Stones. Nice little plug for our other podcasts, which, frankly, you must rate and review, everyone. Rate and review us. Please do that. It makes sense. I'm looking forward to checking out Zodiac and Catweasel. Yes, Zodiac was one of the lesser known ones we did, and other lesser heralded series that I might have missed. I have a whole heap of suggestions for your future podcasts, future discussions, particularly stories which have stuck in my mind many years after transmission, such as Edith Nesbit's The Enchanted Castle, BBC 1979. Play for Today, The Flip Side of Dominic Hyde, BBC 1980. Yeah. Was so enjoyable to watch Peter Firth as a time traveller visiting London in the 1980s. Gave me an early view of what homes in the future might look like, and always great to hear Patrick McGee. Not that one. He was the narrator of the wonderful audio Hordes of the Things. Into the Labyrinth, HTV, 1981. Ron Moody and Pamela Salem regularly tearing up the sets through fantasy and history. I felt a similar story structure was used in the Dungeons & Dragons 1983 cartoon, which was also a good romp. I deny you the Nidus. I don't even know what that means, Jeremy. Box of Delights, 1984, now a Christmas tradition when we get the chance. Such magical music.
Save that one for December, definitely.
Yeah. Threads, 1984, this gritty, sometimes too realistic drama from Barry Hines was a fascinating look at a possible future for the regular folk of Sheffield. Not a happy watch, but gripping. I mean, I don't think I can ever watch Threads again. It was about a nuclear attack on the UK. Chimera.
I love Threads.
Oh, God. It's so harsh. It's horrible. Chimera, Anglia, 1991. I remember this, and I remember being quite disappointed in it. An enjoyable drama about genetics and conglomerates from the interesting writer Stephen Gallagher, wrote for Doctor Who, of course. Nice to see David Calder too. There was a big fuss about it at the time because there wasn't much science fiction on, and here was some. Earth Fasts, BBC 1994. The first episode has lots of promise with drums and mountains sides. Not sure I remember the rest. I should watch it again. Earth Fasts. I don't know what that is. Looks like a misprint. The Last Train. Now, this is great. Have you ever seen that?
Is that the one with Nicola Walker?
I don't know.
Granada,
Granada, 1999. A fun sci-fi plot leads to a survivors-like show. It was enjoyable, and I've not heard much about it since it aired.
Had Nicola Walker in it.
Wow, she must have been.
And James
young.
Hazeldine as well.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It's really good.
That is great, actually.
But it died a death because no one wanted to watch something like that in 1999. Do you know what the premise of it is?
It's end of the world, isn't it, really?
Yeah, but do you know the premise?
Go on. I've seen it.
I don't want to tell you if you already know. It's an asteroid hits Earth, and some people are aware of it, and they're heading to a sort of bunker to survive the impact, and they have with them some cryogenic gas in their case. But they don't get, the train's going along, but they don't get to the bunker in time, and the asteroid hits, and in the impact, some of the cryogenic gas escapes, and everyone in that carriage is preserved.
Of course, because my memory of it is I remember them wandering around like warehouses and stuff like that. I remember somebody gets attacked by a dog or something, or there's some dog. So there's something, but that's the main thing I seem. The main thing I seem to remember is lots of people sort of wandering around.
It's the wander around. It's very exciting, and it's not available anywhere. I don't know whether it's on YouTube. Is it on YouTube? It's certainly not available as a DVD, which is a big shame.
It was very good. That's the thing.
I've got it on. I've recorded it off air. I've got some VHSs of it in a box in a loft somewhere.
Dig them out, Nick, and we'll sit around. We'll have a sleepover, and we'll give it a watch.
This definitely is the Jeremy Rayner I know, because his website address is justice.org. He was very interested in our audio visuals Doctor Who's we did back in the day. He says, having caught up with all your podcasts now, I'm eagerly awaiting the next suggested delights that you will unearth. Well, I have no idea what we're going to listen to or watch, next time. All the best to you and your families, Jeremy Rayner. Thank you, Jeremy. Lovely to hear from you.
We should, I'll tell you one thing we should do at some point, is maybe run some, because we get so many suggestions coming in. Maybe we should do like a poll on the Facebook or something to see if people can vote to see what they want us to check out at some point.
That's a good idea.
That could be quite a fun way of giving the people what the people would like to hear.
Yes. Okay, well look, we better get on to our main topic of discussion, which is UFO identified. For those of you who didn't know, and I bet you all know, UFO was Gerry Anderson's first live-action TV series. He'd done a movie called Doppelganger, or Journey to the Far Side of the Sun. Much of the cast of that ended up in UFO. How would you describe the central concept of UFO, Benji?
Okay, so it centres around it's a company. I say it's not really a company, but more an organisation called Shadow.
Yes,
which
it is an organisation.
Essentially, they defend the planet Earth against aliens, the UFOs, and all that sort of business. It's all very, very space age. You see, but it's really good. It's everything that you can expect from a Gerry Anderson production is what I would say in terms of the way it looks and the way it feels. It's all action stations, as I would say, which is what a Gerry Anderson production is all about.
And it also has some really funky music, doesn't it? Some groovy music.
The whole thing is really groovy, to be honest. It's very of its time in terms of it's very instantly. I mean, the first episode was 1970, and as soon as you turn it on, you're aware that this is the time, that this is, the slight tones of the 60s still present, but the feeling that we're in the 70s now, and it's time to be hip and cool and groovy and do what you got to do. Interestingly, it was filmed in 1969. Yeah, as it would be, but I suppose it was,
But decades don't adhere to themselves, do they?
Well, the way I see it is, it feels like it's making a bold statement. That straight away, this is telly, this is new, this is exciting, this is big and bold, and it does pull it off. Actually, is what I would say. It really pulls it off.
I think the series does as a whole. I think this first episode is really possibly the least strong of all the episodes.
And it's still a really strong one as well, especially with the way it all turns out in the end. But as first episodes go, I mean, I don't really know what in terms of what the global census is, but I think it's far more approachable series to get into from episode 1 than Space 1999. Actually,
yeah, I think that's true. I certainly prefer it.
I mean,
myself.
it's a bit more get up and go kind of vibe to it. You feel very much it moves quickly and it's fun and there's a lot to take in. But I mean, it's cool, I mean, the one thing I actually want to say straight away is that it has quite a sexual identity. All the way through, there's all people. Everybody looks like they will have it off with everybody. Everybody's making sort of cheeky, sexy jokes.
Well, I was going to come to this myself. I mean, Colonel Freeman, played by George Sewell, is basically a sex pest. I mean, he can't talk to a woman without putting his tongue in his cheek and rolling his eyes, and then the music goes,
yeah,
and she says, "I've passed all the tests." And he says, "Yeah, I bet you have," and it's all, and the whole, it has the sexual morality of a 1970s program, and it was, the whole thing about Jerry Anderson is that it was all kids stuff, and then this was like his chance to make an adult series, and after the opening teaser of someone being shot, people being shot by an alien and all that. Peter Gordino, who was a big dancer on television at the time, is really famous for being a dancer. And Peter Gordino's in it playing Captain Carlin, as it turns out. The first shot after the starting sequence is of a girl's bum, isn't it? Walking into Harlington Straker Studios. And you just think, okay, we get it. And the mini skirts are so mini. And, when you go to the moon base and Gabrielle Drake as Lieutenant Gay Ellis, I think is the name of the character, there's a whole sequence of her basically stripping,
But this is it. It's very, I mean, in some respects, it's very confident of its own identity, isn't it? It's well, it is.
Yeah. I think many people would find it deeply offensive now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, it's watching it back as an archive piece, like watching it back as something from the time. I wouldn't say it's offensive watching it then. If it was made now, and that was going on, I mean, it wouldn't be broadcast.
Not unless it was deeply ironic. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it matters, because this show is confident and strong, and straight away with that opening sequence with, you don't really know what's going on, but you're impressed.
It's really swanky and, beautifully done. Yeah. I mean, what I think about it is it's a great first episode to watch as a first episode if you don't know the series, because it introduces everything, tells you everything you need to know about the whole setup of the series. But once you know the series, it's not... Because quite often with a good series, you can still go back and rewatch the first episode and still get a thrill from it. But given that once you've watched the whole series, you know all about it, going back and watching this, it does seem quite dull, because it is just telling you stuff, And I did rather rudely say to Jamie last night, I said, your dad wrote and directed this. And he went, yeah. And I said, yeah, it's a bit dull though, isn't it? Because there are lots of really cheap tricks for giving information, like Straker gets really annoyed with someone, Ed Straker, the commander, which is a towering performance from Ed Bishop. It's this real centre of the show, I think. This slightly embittered, slightly unpleasant man. He's not very likeable at all. And he says, here I am, 50 metres below the surface, and I'm now explaining everything to you, because, they try to disguise the giving of information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of that, and I suppose there has to be, especially with this. I mean, it's one of those classic ones as well, because it's all being set up, isn't it? It's like their first sort of thing, isn't it? I seem to believe it is, yeah, and so
sort of, yeah. Well, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have all that sort of lead up to it, but you know, I mean, it didn't bother me because I was just happily enjoying watching it. I watched it last night and was just really enjoying the ride. Really,
there are some much better episodes later on.
I'm definitely going to stick with it. Definitely going to stick with it or something.
Have you not watched it all ever?
It's, you know, it's one of those shows that I've seen it here and there, you know, when occasionally you come across it, but I've never sat down like as a thing and said, right, I'm going to watch this.
Oh, it's really worth it, and it really changes character at the end for about the last 6 episodes. It becomes a very, very different show. It becomes really adult, and they only screened it very late at night, those last episodes, because there's hallucinogenic drug stuff, and it's all quite grown up, really. But
it only did one series then.
Yeah, they were hoping to do a second series and had indeed built a model for the new revamped moon base, which they ended up using for Space 1999.
It's weird how things like that work out, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why it obviously didn't. They put it on against Doctor Who, certainly in my region, and so I had this. It was when, I remember missing bits of Doctor Who through watching UFO and stuff. It's just... they deliberately made it clash so it was difficult to watch both shows, you know, because they were on rival channels.
I mean, the thing that, you know, strikes me with all the Jerry Anderson productions, especially the live action ones as well, is the sense of budgets. You know, we touched on this with Space 1999. You look at it and you're impressed instantly. Really you're impressed good, because this is on television and not at a cinema. And maybe it's because it's shot on film, which instantly makes you think this is great. But you know,
these shows were made for the American market. That's what they wanted. They wanted international sales, which means America, really. So they have American characters. The lead character is American, you know.
But it's amazing though, isn't it? When you look at, you know, I mean, I'm not, you know, I love Doctor Who, as everybody listening will know, but you can't compare the production values of this to 70s Doctor Who at the time. Yeah, it's kind of two completely different breeds of quality there, really.
Oh yeah, this is a whole different area. Although, strangely, you know, the thing you get with a series like this is lots of repeated music cues and lots of repeated stock shots of things. So even though it has a slickness, they were also cutting corners to make the budget things work. I'd like to move on to talk about some practicality of the concepts. Issues, okay. Things that we can horribly mock. Terrible, I know. I love the fact that the whole thing about the UFOs approaching at several times the speed of light.
Well, I mean, that's ridiculous within itself.
I mean, apart from the fact that that's impossible and they'd have to evolve some sort of hyperdrive in order to do it.
Presumably they kill them all as well. Anything going several times.
And they say the speed of light, and then they show this thing coming through space at about 30 miles an hour as it comes spinning. If it was travelling at the speed of light, of light, that's like as fast as anything you look at, that information getting to your eye. That's how fast that is. It's not going to go...
Maybe if they just said like...
That's it.
Well, it wouldn't even do that.
It would crash into the earth and come out the other side, wouldn't it?
But, you know, perhaps if they said the speed of sound, because sound travels at a certain speed. It's not like light, you know, sound is... and maybe I'd be like, several times the speed of sound is pretty damn fast. Well, but
I mean, I could even accept that they maybe approach our solar system at hyperspeed. Right, so they approach us, but how are they able to track that on the moon base on radar? How can you track someone on radar traveling at hyperspeed? And also the aliens, right? The reason they attack in this episode is because a vital component and vital information is on a plane that's flying from America to Britain, to the Shadow base. And unfortunately, the comms officer in the Shadow base, whose name I can't remember, he's in every episode, more or less, a lot of it in stock footage, which he clearly shot for other episodes. Also, the actor in question was mainly known as a TV announcer, not an actor. He accidentally transmits the details of this journey on a lower priority security band. So the idea is that somehow the aliens find out about it. So these aliens are able from light years away to monitor radio calls on Earth.
And understand them, presumably.
Yeah. So they know everything.
And understand their importance.
Yeah. So the aliens will know, and given that they're that clever and can travel that fast, I mean, why are they only able to just send one flying saucer every now and again? I think the most they ever send is 6 at once. I think the whole idea needs to be sort of unpacked and sorted out a bit. I mean, of course, the way they approach it in the show is to just say, well, this is happening and this is the threat and we don't know why. And, but this episode sort of concludes that the reason they're coming to Earth is to nick our body parts because they're dying. Because in a rather moving climax, they discover that Peter Gordino's sister, who was kidnapped by aliens, basically they find out that her heart happens to be in the alien they find floating in the water after they shoot a UFO.
It's horrible. That's the one that when that twist sort of came into it, I must admit I felt it hit me. I was like, wow. I was like, that's really quite horrible, actually.
Another little practicality thing. They have these interceptors they send up, but presumably sublight speeds, to shoot down something that's traveling faster than the speed of light. And okay, maybe it comes out of light speed and slows down as it comes towards the Earth, so it doesn't go through the planet and out the other side.
Which it would.
And they've only got 3 interceptors on the moon, right? And they've only got 1 missile each. And once they fire the missile, they're just useless.
And how can you fire a missile against something that is heading at the speed of light? Like you said, I suppose it would have to slow down.
Yes.
But, but the second you even think, right, we need to fire them. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's past.
It's about, well. Can you come back?
Yeah.
I like the computer, this space intruder detector. Why does the computer speak in that voice with a big echo?
Because they and like the text on the screen, which isn't even computer generated text, or like it's literally a picture of text.
Yes.
On the screen, and I was just like, really?
And why do the women on Moonbase have to wear stupid wigs?
No, everybody wears wigs in space. Buzz Aldrin, a great friend of mine, was saying that was the constant thing between him and Neil Armstrong, was that Neil kept grabbing his wig and throwing it off into up into space. Just it's a fact. That's to space.
Purple wigs. The men don't wear wigs, but the women do. Why
but also,
that?
what is? I don't understand what's the significance of. Do they ever explain it? Do they ever explain why they wear wigs?
Yeah, because they do. And because that character, Gabrielle Drake's character, does come down to Earth, and when she's working at Shadow on Earth, she doesn't wear a wig. It's only when it's their uniform. Imagine that you start a job for a company and they say, all right, and we need you to wear a uniform. You think, oh, fair enough. At McDonald's they wear uniforms. Yeah, could you put this wig on as well? Could you just put this afro wig on? I know they're not afro wigs, but you imagine that. It's sort of.
But there's some weird. I mean, it must, given this, all the kinks in this show, there must just be some bloke there in charge. I like somebody with purple, pink sort of hair. Make them. They've got to all wear these wigs. It's part of the uniform. But no, it makes no sense, and is a little bit. It's a little bit 60s, isn't it? A little bit like this is what people in space look like. Somebody on Twitter said to me, "How come everybody had to always wear silver to justify the fact that they were in space?" I was like, "Yeah, it's true."
It's all about catching the eye of the viewer, isn't it? That's what it's about. And the concepts themselves haven't been thought through very solidly, I think.
But, I mean, we need to just say about the chairs, though, because those funky plastic white chairs are just to die for. Everywhere you look in this show, there are just funky, cool design chairs.
It does
plastic
look amazing, all
chairs,
of it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Just, I found myself at times drifting from what people were saying because I was looking at the chairs and wondering whether they'd be comfortable or not, and thinking, is that a chair that looks particularly funky, but by sitting in it, would it be comfortable or would it be silly? So that was clearly an insight into my mind and how easily distracted I am. But it's cool.
I'd like to go back to that guy, the announcer guy who plays the comms officer. Because all the tension in this plot, that thing he did by sending a message at the wrong security level, so the aliens found out and sent a flying saucer to blow up the plane. All the tension in this plot just comes from him being really rubbish at his job.
Keith Alexander.
I mean, I may be being harsh here, but I think that's a sackable offence. And he just gets a bit of a harsh word from Evan Straker and then is in the rest of the series, presumably being incompetent every day and go, yeah, well, just skydivers on patrol. I'll just put that on the front of the Daily Mail. That'll be all right, won't it? You know what I mean? He's clearly incompetent.
Given as well that he is actually defending planet Earth.
Yeah, he's endangered Colonel Freeman and Virginia Lake.
It's madness, but I suppose. Well, he's been.
And also, he's not very sorry. He kind of goes, it's very difficult, sir. And he said, I tell you what's difficult when people are taken away by aliens. And this guy who works for this organisation, when he makes a major blunder that risks the lives of shadow personnel and the future safety of the planet Earth, he goes, well, it's very difficult. I mean, he has not got the mentality to work for this organisation. He is a bad influence on the workforce. He's probably telling all his mates, this defending of the Earth, I mean, it's all a bit difficult, isn't it?
Just loads of red tape and rules, innit? You can't do this, you can't do that.
I don't think we should adhere to proper security protocol while sending out classified messages. I mean, it's a bit too difficult, isn't it? I'll just send this as a low priority pigeon post.
Oh, it's ridiculous the other day, right? England, right? World Cup, England were playing Slovenia, right? And they said I couldn't go and watch it because there was some threat from aliens stealing people's eyebrows. Are you telling me that it's not in my rights, and I know my rights, it's not in my rights to go and watch the World Cup? I mean, it's 1970 after all.
I'll tell you what your rights are.
He's probably like, whoever's the real high up. I mean, obviously, Ed Bishop is the commander-in-chief, but there must be some bureaucrat who's the real man behind Shadow. He's probably just like mates with him. There's probably some, he's incompetent, but they sort of have to just let him do it.
He's got friends in high places, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's like, he's John's son. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, Ed Bishop in this though, what a dude! What a dude! Yeah, he's one of those chaps. His by being in something, he's a sort of symbol of it's going to be pretty cool, and he's great, isn't he?
Yeah. He worked
cool
he did work for Big Finish once,
Did he really?
Yeah, he did a Doctor Who Unbound called Full Fathom 5, I think it was called.
It's a very Ed Bishop sort of title, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, he was, and funny enough, he was playing a base commander in it as well.
Oh, great.
As he got older, he had more of a his voice was a bit more like that, Yes.
Yes, well, quite.
It was a bit Sean Connery.
That was very Sean Connery, that. But because he was in two Bond films, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I didn't realise he was... I remember him from You Only Live Twice, but I completely forgot that he was in Diamonds Are Forever.
There's a fantastic video online available at the Anderson site that they've... Chris Dale has done a fantastic video all about Ed Bishop's career and his involvement with Jerry Anderson stuff. It's really fascinating.
Really?
Those are great clips. If you can find it, go and have a look.
I want to say that some of the... It might, maybe not, but I've certainly... Jamie's sent me some Ed Bishop... interviews which I've done some restoration on, cleaning them up a little bit. Whether they made it into that, I don't know. I think it was for the Captain Scarlet stuff.
Yes, it would have been, yeah.
But really interesting man to listen to, actually, and especially he's quite sort of firmly involved with a lot of the Anderson, UFO and Captain Scarlet.
Well, I think Jerry Anderson had a very high opinion of him.
Well, in some ways as well. It's just got such an iconic voice. That's what I think, is that you instantly hear his voice and you instantly think, right, this is obviously, we're listening to a Jerry Anderson production here. But
So
yeah,
we're giving a
real cool
big
dude.
thumbs up to UFO identified, aren't we? I'd give it 4 out of 5 exclamation marks.
Yeah, definitely a solid 4 as well. 5, a 5 maybe. Yeah, if there was some of the 5. Really, but 4 because we're being sensible and we don't go multiple times the speed of light. But definitely worth checking out. And obviously you can buy the complete DVD set of UFO. But of course, if you're really savvy, you can enter our competition and try and get it yourself.
Yeah. And it's always worth a go. You know, I tell you something, people think that loads of people enter competitions, so it's really difficult to win. But because people think that, fewer people enter than you think. So it's worth a go. It's worth a punt. Yeah.
I think so, because you just never know if you're going to win it, and there's people who I've occasionally chat to on Twitter and things like that who have won some of the prizes, and so it's real people are winning these things.
Oh yeah,
so,
no, they really are. We're not just putting them in our pockets.
yeah, I've won all our competitions so far.
Funny that, yeah. Funny how I win. Yeah.
But yes,
listen, before we talk about what we're going to discuss next time.
yes.
I want to introduce a new section for next time, which is that
Good Lord,
you and
are
I,
you feeling all right?
you and I have to think of 3 difficult questions on Cult TV to stump each other. So next time, come on, I want you to ask me 3 questions.
Okay, this is
and
fun.
I'll try and think for 3 for you. Yeah,
Okay,
and it will
we're
just
doing
lead to
this.
interesting facts, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea. We'll have to think of a cool name for it.
Yeah, I was thinking we could call it 3 difficult questions on Cult TV. Just trips off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, somehow
3
it's
difficult
very-
questions on Cult TV.
Love it.
Done. That's
Love
the
it.
jingle
Perfect.
sorted.
No, very, very good. Yeah. But I think I've got an idea what I think we should do next week.
Good,
because
yes.
because we haven't done it yet, and it feels like we should. A few people have mentioned it in emails over the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Why don't we do the first episode of Wurzel Gummidge, Wurzel's Washing Day?
Where's washing day?
Raisinette. It has the famous line in it. Raisinette.
which
What
you would-
wonderful imaginations these children do have. Now, how could a scarecrow talk? So good, but I think
Okay,
we should
let's
do that
do
one
that.
because it's a fun episode and one I've got a lot to say about Wurzel because
Okay.
I hold it very close to my heart.
It's all right for you, Mr. Crowman, sir.
Well, there we are. So next time, Wurzel Gummidge. What was the first episode called again?
Wurzel's Washing Day.
Of course it was. So we'll be talking about Wurzel's Washing Day next week
Very
on the Benji and
exciting
Nick
stuff.
show. Next Sunday, indeed. Listen out.
Well,
for
thank
us.
you ever so much for everybody that's joined us on this wonderful journey into the cult television lifestyle, whatever that is.
Yeah, and don't forget to email us at podcast@nicholasbriggs.com with your suggestions for topics or questions or comments or really anything you'd like, actually. Thanks for the great emails you've sent in so far. Keep them coming. And don't forget to rate and review us.
R&R, do the R&R, and also on Twitter, share it around, tell people about it, and also, have a chinwag with us. We're always on there, and tell us what if you're enjoying the podcast.
Brilliant. Well, is it time to say goodbye?
And on that wonderful little bombshell, I think it's time for us, for this week, to say goodbye.
Goodbye. Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.